I'm Tiffany, and this is from Mamaw's Kitchen. This is where I get to share with you the old-fashioned recipes and skills that I learned from my Mamaw in her kitchen.
We are going to be making the perfect Southern comfort food, country cooking at its finest, in my opinion. Today, we're going to make a whole dinner together, and this is going to be like the dinner, one of the dinners I would have had growing up at my Mamaw's house. So my parents both worked full-time jobs. And my sister and I, we spent a lot of time at my grandparents'. We spent summer days at my grandparents'. During school, we would go to their house after school. And a lot of times, Mamaw would cook dinner for all of us. And the dinner that we're going to cook together today is one that Mamaw would have absolutely made on a regular basis. We're going to make pork chops with mushroom gravy, fried okra, and then we're going to make Pawpaw's cornbread. Pawpaw has always been in charge of the cornbread. And the way I make cornbread nowadays, I don't like sweet cornbread. That's not how Pawpaw makes it. Justin, my husband, he absolutely prefers Pawpaw's style of cornbread. So he's going to be really excited. That's what we're making tonight. We're going to actually get started with the cornbread because I can bake it and it can be done while we're working on the other things. So come on, let's get started. So we've got some white lily cornmeal mix. It's a self-rising cornmeal mix. And y'all, Pawpaw doesn't really measure when he does this, but for the sake of today's video, I wanted to give you measurements. I also want to encourage you to start cooking by feel. And so, I don't want to be so specific with measurements that you don't cook by feel, but I'm going to kind of give you an idea. So I'm going to put 2 cups. Ooh, and I just got that all up in the air, didn't I? I'm going to put 2 cups of this cornmeal mix.
That one. That one.
You want to play with that bowl? Okay. I'm feeling like I need a little bit more, so I'm going to do another 1/2 cup, so that brings it to 2.5 cups. Like I said, I usually just do this by feel and pouring it in the bowl and seeing what looks right. Woo, sorry. 2 eggs. And again, I usually go by consistency with milk, so let's see how much that ends up being. I'm going to start with 1 cup. And this is whole milk. Just that looks pretty good to me. So, what do we got in here? We've got 2.5 cups of the cornmeal mix, 2 eggs, and 1 cup of whole milk. I kind of feel like I want to add another splash of milk in here. That was probably like another tablespoon. Oh yeah, see, there we go. See how smooth that looks? That's what we're going for. It's a little bit thicker than a pancake batter. So y'all, around here, cornbread must be baked in a cast iron skillet. And this cast iron skillet is the one I always use for cornbread. I don't even really like to have it used for anything else. Once you start making cornbread in cast iron, you just, I don't know, you have that one skillet that's like, please just leave that for cornbread. That's what this is to me. I have about a tablespoon of butter melting in my skillet, and I have my oven preheated to 375 degrees. I just turned my stovetop on to heat up this cast iron and melt the butter. Sometimes I put it in the oven while the oven's preheating and do it that way. I just decided to do it on the stovetop today. Switch to a spatula and get all this in my skillet. I'm not real sure what size this skillet is. A 10-inch, maybe? I did look at the bottom of that skillet, and it's a 9-inch skillet, and we're going to bake it at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes. I'm going to turn out this cornbread. Now, this is one of the reasons why you get that special skillet, and you melt that butter in it, and you put your batter in there when the skillet's hot. All those things should help it turn out really well But now that I got the camera on, it may not. Let's see. I just place the plate on it. Flip it over. Ha-ha, there it is. Then I take a butter knife and slide it under the edge, and that lifts that cornbread up just a little bit so that it doesn't create a bunch of moisture. Gives it a little bit of airflow. All right, I'm gonna let this cool. Using that butter and having a good seasoned skillet gives you a beautiful crust on the outside of your cornbread. I've had some kiddos join me in the kitchen, so you'll probably hear them. We're gonna work on our pork chops with mushroom gravy. I have my pork chops. These are thin cut, boneless pork chops in a baking dish. I've just got salt and pepper on them. Now, I did not sear these or brown them at all. I've tried it both ways. Mamaw never did. My mama doesn't. This just is how we really like it. So, just pork chops in my pan with salt and pepper. And then in this bowl, I have 1 can of cream of mushroom and half a cup of milk. I'm going to mix that together and I'm going to spread it over the top. And I'm going to bake these at 350. I'll let you know exactly how long these take. It's going to depend on the thickness of your pork chops, how your oven cooks, whether or not you use boneless pork chops. I cook mine to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. I know you can cook pork at a little bit lower temperature. I still go to 160. So I recommend getting a meat thermometer. We use ours often. I'll let you know how long these cook. I've never had a problem with them drying out. If you wanted to, you could cover this with some aluminum foil if you thought they were going to. But I'm just going to get this mixture here all over the top. Spread that around and get them in my oven. Y'all, I got a little dinosaur in the kitchen. Do y'all hear him? In my cast iron skillet, I'm going to put a little bit of bacon grease. I save my bacon grease in this little container here. I'm going to put a little bit and let it melt in my cast iron skillet while I get my okra ready. In this bowl, I have about a cup of that cornmeal mix with some salt and pepper. If you're not using a cornmeal mix, like this already has some flour in it. If you were not, I would do a little bit of cornmeal, a little bit of flour. Sometimes I even do equal parts. And I'm going to take my frozen okra. We sliced this up and froze it from our garden. I want to put some of that in here and just get it good and coated with this cornmeal. No specific measurements. You just want to coat it. Now, you don't want to just go and dump this whole bowl into your skillet. You want to pick up the pieces and drop them in. You don't want a whole lot of extra cornmeal in your skillet. Now, some things I've had to learn about frying things like okra and squash. Don't be afraid, especially in the early stages of cooking, to add a little extra grease if you need it, a little extra fat. Bacon grease, lard, even Crisco if that's what you want to use. Don't be afraid to add some extra if you need it. And once you get it going, don't stir it constantly. Let it sit and really brown, and then you can flip it around.
This is what fried okra looks like to me. Not those big, thick, battered chunks that you can get in the freezer section at the grocery store. Now, this right here is good fried okra. And this is the same way that we do squash. This is really good cornbread if you like cornbread and milk. I do not, but I know a lot of people who do. Just crumble up your cornbread in a cup and then pour milk over it. Like I said, that's not something that I like, but I know a lot of people who do.
Y'all, I'm sure enjoying having you in my kitchen with me, sharing some memories with you and recipes and things that I learned from Mama in her kitchen. Y'all get in your kitchen and make some memories with the people you love. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.